Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pearl Lolo Masucha from Vodacom. I'm currently the Iot for Retail, Hospitality and FMCG within the Vodacom family. I'd like to welcome you all to the first in a series of webinars that Vodacom will be conducting over a period of time to give you as our customer visibility around the retail value chain and the solutions that we're bringing to the market in order to provide you with relief around the disruption that Vodacom has brought to bear. While many challenges were experienced due to the lockdown globally and locally, this has also delivered an opportunity for us to accelerate the digital transformation necessary for all retailers to acquire, delight and retain customers. In partnership with the industry specialists, we ourselves as a retailer have had to transform our business. And in doing so, we have learned a couple of things that we'd like to bring to market to our customers. Our partners are the likes of Deloitte, who are known for their specialization within the retail industry and understanding the market very well. Today, I'd like to introduce Lerato Motsoeneng, the managing exec for retail as well as logistics, as well as the Vodacom Global Enterprises lead. Lerato holds a master's degree in entrepreneurship and a new venture creations, a business management certificate from the University of Johannesburg, a BA honors degree in industrial sociology, politics and labor law, and has been at Vodacom since 2006. He's held positions at Vodafone Global Enterprises. Prior to that, he was key account manager at MTN and an account manager at Africa Legend Indigo. Welcome, Lerato.
Thank you, Pearl, and welcome to everybody on the call. Pearl, you've just made me reminisce of all the jobs that I've done. But welcome to everybody to a sunny Johannesburg. If you're in Johannesburg, this weather is definitely welcome. Spring is upon us, but it did not start like that. But nonetheless, my name is Lerato Motsoeneng. As Pearl rightfully said, I am the managing executive for retail and logistics within Vodacom Business. I'm also the head of Vodafone Global Enterprise across Southern Africa. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I guess if we get into it, the retail industry contributes about 6% of the global economy, and in 2019, its contribution was about $23 trillion, and it's projected to grow to about $30 trillion by 2023. I mean, the global economy has been forced to transform and find new ways of operating due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I think there are also clear signs on how this rapid spread of the virus has impacted consumer behaviors, demand and supply of products and services, as well as the supply chain processes that are linked to the delivery of products and services to consumers. Each aspect of the supply chain, in my view, has also been forced to rethink its contribution to the supply chain. I guess COVID-19 has resulted in a business environment the likes of which few, if any, company has ever experienced. However, the path ahead contains numerous challenges and additional unforeseen risks for organizations that are eager to resume operations. While it will not be business as usual, and with thoughtful and deliberate planning, I think companies can develop a process for safely resuming to operations with a workforce that is prepared, that is confident and assured of its well-being, and also a safe start to minimize disruption and ultimately improve operations. I think most organizations, if they start doing this, will be in a position to start recovering to the pre-disruption performance levels that we're seeing today. I think the use of technology is paramount, because the use of technology in adapting to changes in the retail landscape has become ever more prominent. as retailers find ways to keep their customers loyal during this crisis. I think the ability to allow customers to consume products and services anytime and anywhere will largely be driven by the platforms available to drive the seamless engagement between retailers and consumers. Already we're starting to see research that shows that there's been a year-on-year increase of online sales of about 8.8%, as consumers now want to stay away from the brick-and-mortar establishments. Furthermore, as we start seeing the relaxation of the lockdown measures, customers will need to be assured that returning to the retail environment is going to be safe. So the role of technology, again, plays a paramount role with regards to, thermal screening, social distancing, monitoring of PPEs, etc. So today, we will share with you trends and insights we are seeing that are developing in the retail space as a result of where we find ourselves due to COVID. You will also hear firsthand how 3 of our customers have experienced COVID and how they've responded to the pandemic. We have also invited our partners to share with you their capabilities to assist you to hopefully return to the new normal. We're delighted and very honored to share these insights with you this afternoon and hope that you'll find this engagement valuable. I'm excited for the opportunity that lies ahead while we navigate through the new normal. I hope you find this session enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lerato. Next, before we move on to the Deloitte's presentation, I'm sure there will be a lot of questions. There is a side tab on your screens where you can post your questions, which will then curate at the end of the session, and we will then get through the question and answer session. Also, I'd just like to put it out there that we do have another disruption within the South African landscape, and that is called load shedding. If any of the speakers should get off the platform, could you please bear with us? They will be back to continue with the presentation. Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce Roger George from our consulting partners, Deloitte. Roger has 20 years of experience transforming strategic advisory services. He has advised on a number of multinational retail, apparel, FMCG customers, as well as pharmaceutical and government agencies on how to understand and enter different markets across Africa. Focusing mainly on market sizing, strategic marketing, risk assessment, competitor and supply analysis, logistics, and implementation of operating models. Roger is also a visiting professor at the University of Cape Town. I'd like to introduce you all to Roger George.
Thanks very much, Phil. Apologies, everyone. This is, I think, the reality of the trading environment that we live in South Africa, actually. So really great to be talking to you all. This afternoon, I'm going to be sharing some insights based on a research piece that the Deloitte Insight IQ team have done, which I think gives quite a good view of retail, not only from the past, but also going forward. It's quite a comprehensive piece. Example, those highlights with you, and then of course we'd always like to get more into the detail with you. So if anyone on the call would like to engage us further around some of the research, or also in addition to that, how that would apply to your specific retail environment, feel free to reach out. So if we can just move to the next slide. Great. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just share with you, some of the disruptive forces that are influencing the world we live in. And then what I'd like to do after that is get more into some of the retail trends that we picked up in our research. Then I'm going to end off with a view of the consumer and how the evolution of the consumer is evolving. Then I think that would lead very nicely into some of the speakers that are going to follow. I think what you're looking at on the screen right now should be nothing new to anyone on the call. There have been definitely disruptive forces in play for quite some time now. I think what has happened is COVID has just accelerated that journey. But our research actually revealed, for at least 10, 15 years, some of these concepts have been around. And it's how they interplay and how we roll them out as retailers, I think, and whether they make business sense and the timing of that, which I think is the discussion point. If you look to the top left, consumer preferences very definitely have been evolving over time, driven predominantly by cultural, social, and also economical needs. I think today's consumer is very clear about what they put in their mouth, what they put on themselves, how they purchase a product, through which channel, at what price point, how it gets delivered to them. So it's evolving quite rapidly, but I just want to put an overlay caveat on this to say that is very much influenced by the economical situation that the consumer finds themselves in. So right now in South Africa, if we look at the economic pressures, all-time consumer confidence down from consumers as well as business confidence. I mean, that's supply and demand both sides, right, which is not great. So very much the consumer preferences tailored a bit by the world they find themselves in. The bottom left talks to technology. Technology very definitely is a key driver. People have used Moore's law to almost justify everything out of 1965, to almost justify everything that's new in retail. I would say that from a Moore's law perspective, one thing that does hold true is that the cost of computing and the power of computing is definitely decreasing, and then the power of computing increasing. So what you have is the ability to have access to greater computing power, more data, more leverage, at a much cheaper price. And of course, using that data and information not only to infect the front end in terms of the demand side, but also how you run your business. And the other thing around technology is that it's very personal. So you carry it around in your pocket, and that opens itself up to a wide array of opportunities, I think, for retailers. And of course, on the bottom right, we talk around market forces being shifting, and I think this has got a double-edged sword. The one is the market forces with which you operate as an organization, and that could be, where you sell your retail product, where you have your distribution channels, your wholesale channels, your manufacturing setup. The other side of the coin is where you source your product from. Could be a different jurisdiction, and that in itself has also got its own market forces playing out there and competitive dynamic. So I think if you get the picture of these sort of four disruptive forces coming into the middle circle, you'll see that it's quite complex actually to run a retail business with those dynamics. If we can just jump down to the next slide, and I'll get a bit into some of the trends that we're seeing coming out of our report. Definitely, if you look at commoditization and premiumization, the world is becoming a commoditized place. There's been a proliferation of brands and products over the last couple of years. In fact, 6 times more products are available on shelves right now than there sort of were in the early 1990s. What we definitely do see is a move towards private label, the rise of private label. It's been around for quite some time. I think it's predominantly driven there by margin erosion. So our research is showing that retailers are actually generating an extra 25 to 30% of margin saving by switching to private label brands. What I've seen in South Africa is quite interesting is that, some of the retailers are using private label to do innovation. So you might have the sort of mainstream brands out there putting the products on the shelves, and let's use a category of pasta or rice as an example. So we'll have the two brands out there doing a price war against each other, really commoditizing that product. Then you find the retailer on the edges innovating with the smaller pack sizes, different shapes and sizes, different flavor variants based on, how hygiene and health considerations. So private label, I think, is taking on a new view and a new cadence around the world in terms of what it stands for. And I think it's becoming more and more reliable in the consumer's mind. So we definitely see that rise going to continue. And of course, the rise of price and discounters has been around for some time, probably driven by economic circumstances. So very definitely commoditization, and you do have some premiumization in very niche areas, and I think for certain segments of the market. We spoke a bit about the digital growth. In the US, our research is showing that it's responsible for 50% of all new growth. Even though it only comprises 15% of the total, it's responsible for 50% of the growth. In South Africa, we're probably going to get to, I would guess, around 4% at the end of this year as a total of sales. But nevertheless, seeing that to continue to grow at double-digit rates over the next 5 years. I think the big challenge that people are thinking about is how do we make this profitable? There's a margin erosion here. Someone has to pay for this cost. And if you are moving even groceries or stuff along the supply chain, you can quickly get a sense of what the cost of that would be, to move frozen products across the home delivery channel. And at some point, someone's going to pay for it. Our sense is that our research is pointing to the fact that the consumer ultimately is going to end up carrying the cost of those new channels. But at the moment, a lot of struggles going as to how we make this profitable. A lot of people can see the growth, can see the opportunity, but does it make brands in a sense is the question. Another big trend that we're seeing is the move to smaller and closer. Very much moving to smaller store formats around the world and in South Africa. Interestingly enough, we did another piece of research during the COVID period where we did social listening. And what we did find is that the upper end of the market tend to visit one store. One retail store we'll visit, we'll do all our shopping under COVID circumstances and leave. Towards the middle and lower end of the market, the average of stores visited was between 3 and 4 as people shopped around looking for bargains. But very definitely this move to smaller format based in your local jurisdiction is a trend we're seeing, which brings me on to sort of the bottom left-hand corner talking about convenience being the new battleground. 67% of retail sales in the US are driven by convenience. And when we talk of convenience, we talk about having a store within 10 minutes of where you live, whether it's rural or whether it's urban. And having that ability to actually have a store close by, stocking the stuff that you want, the product range, the SKUs, the on-shelf availability at the price point that you want, personalized service. Definitely convenience is moving towards that, and I think is going to be a big trend continuing through retail for quite some time. If you look at health and sustainability, a lot of talk about that. I think you'll see in our report we talk about for some. At the moment, the upper end of the market tends to pay a premium for that. The sort of middle and bottom segments will buy if the price point is right. I think price and economics very definitely an influencer of that. But as time rolls out, I think health, wellness, sustainability across the value chain, visibility of farm to fork type of thinking in terms of where products are sourced, the health restrictions to that. In fact, people are moving almost towards a clean label. If you look at the label on a product, you'll see lots of things, this. I think people just want to see nothing, no preservatives, nothing. They're moving towards clean label thinking. And in time to come, that will play a part, but I think very at the moment tempered by economic reality. And of course, fragmentation and consolidation. There's been a lot of talk about, is this the end of the bricks and mortar store? Blah, blah, blah. It's been going on for some time. What we're actually finding is the big retailers are getting stronger. So the big brands out there are consolidating, they're getting stronger, they've got a strong retail footprint, and what they are starting to do is they're starting to experiment with new models of operating. And I'm going to give you an example of a hardware chain in a moment when we get to the next slide, where I'll give you a sense of what true omni-channel could look like. But fragmentation in retailers, not so much. Consolidation, strong retailers still out there, still growing, shifting the store format, shifting the footprint, absolutely, but definitely retaining their brands. I think where we are seeing fragmentation is in the consumer manufacturers, sort of people that are bringing product to the market, and digital and the channels offering a direct route to the consumer. We see a lot of activity happening in that space and a lot of innovation in that space. Concepts such as ghost kitchens for restaurant groups, for fast food groups, ghost warehouses, direct to consumer, ghost retail stores, no branded store anywhere, but some form of retail capability. We see that trend continuing to grow. If we can just move to the next slide. Thanks. So what we have over here is what I like to refer to our consumer of the future and the consumer of the past. So what you have is it's a pictorial view of the journey of the consumer as they move through the shopping experience from the time they think of a product right through to the time where they actually evaluate, buy the product, pay for it, and have an after-sales experience with that product or service. And so right in the sort of middle of the circle, that's the journey of the consumer. The second ring outside of that is traditionally where the customer has been playing in the past or where we connect with the customer today. So as an example of awareness and location, we would traditionally reach out to a customer through traditional media, even though broadsheets, by the way, which people are still advertising is through a traditional channel, social media. But if you look at the way it's going to move forward, we can see that people are going to interact differently. So concepts such as location-based social networking, where you will market and sell products to a group of people, could be a geographical group, could be a group that are affiliated by attributes, could be with a social grouping. So you'll be very specifically focused on location-based services and offerings, and where you can tailor the price point. Very difficult, as you would all know as retailers, to manage your working capital and availability and the supply chain complexity that comes with that sort of operation. Very difficult. But in time to come, there'll be, I think, focused views on that. If you move around the circle, in terms of evaluation and selection, typically in the old days, you'd walk into a store and try samples out, or you'd get samples sent to you. There's an online version of that. And nowadays, when people are evaluating, selecting, it's very much, using digital to help you make that decision. And we talk of customization. One of the extreme thoughts around customization is you have a DNA sample taken of your blood, which will then tell you what food tolerances you have and do not have. And then this company that does that will specify a diet based on what you should eat, and then they will also tell you where to buy the product. And by the way, if you would prefer, they would ship the product to you and a combination of products to you on a subscription basis. So almost taking your lunch and eating it, and someone else making the eating decision for you. Now, it sounds like science fiction, but rapidly gaining, I think, traction in some of the more some of the more stable markets. So I think the question of how these things evolve is very much a timing thing. And what I'm seeing is that we don't see retailers playing across all of these spheres equally. What we do see is we see retailers playing in different pieces of these to suit market needs and obviously the economics of the situation. Another example would be the in-store experience, that is evolving quite rapidly. An example that I like to use is the local hardware that I visit, Leroy Merlin. I'm not sure if any of you are aware of it. And I visit the Bedford View store. But they've got a combination of things happening in that retail experience. So if you are looking for sort of heavy cement or something heavy and you want to buy, you can drive through the bottom end of the retail store in your bakkie. You can drive, they will load the stuff onto the bakkie, and you can pay when you leave through a credit card through your window, or you can do some sort of electronic transfer. But you can have a shopping experience for hardware products while in your car. You can go one level up, and you can enter the store where they've got workshops, an environment where people are developing, building, creating things. And you can join a workshop to learn how to make a table, as an example. And there's a restaurant. So there's a lot of activity, experiential type of retail offering. And then you can enter the store and be guided by someone who will walk through you. I can also sit in my home, look at print test. I say, this is a great table. I'd like to interact with it. I'd like to build that. Send them a picture of it. They will configure it, create the materials for you, and when you arrive, either have them with you or walk you through the store, showing you different options. Then, of course, they've got a e-commerce online channel. So very much a real omni-channel experience, bringing the consumer into the world of the store, and very much based upon the experience of doing something rather than buying something. So we see a lot of innovation involved with that, and digital moving a lot, with digital store systems, the Internet of Things. We're going to hear about that in a little while. Then as you move around the circle, right through to how you pay and transact for the product you're buying or service, and then to the post-service or post-product purchase experience and how you endure loyalty. And as you can imagine, the supply chain complexity across all of this is really difficult to master, and also difficult to maintain profitability throughout this process. So I think retailers are at different levels of doing pieces of this. And we're certainly going to hear a bit more from some of the speakers in a little while around how some of this is being brought to life in South Africa. If we can just jump to the last slide. So this is an example of the way Amazon are looking at the customer. They put the customer at the center of the circle, and what they've done is they've bundled a series of products and services around that consumer to match with the lifestyle and to fit with the basket and availability of spend, rather than having each business saying, who is our customer, how do we focus on them, what should we sell them. They fit into your lifestyle, and you will buy pieces of this as you live your life and as you consume products and services. And depending on how you interact with them, their loyalty programs will cut and crisscross across all of them, and they will use digital across each moment of truth, each customer touch point, to give them insights as to how well they're running these businesses. So that's just been a very quick London bus tour of a very extensive research report, and also our view of how customers are going to and consumers are going to continue to evolve. Be delighted to interact with you whenever you need to and if you want to. So I think I'll pause there for a moment. We are going to take some questions a bit later, and I think what we are going to do now is move into the next segment of this webinar, where the Vodacom team have actually reached out, and they've asked some of the retailers how they see the future of retail evolving.
I'm Adam Rabi. I'm the Executive Head for Vodacom Business in the Western Cape. Today, I'm very pleased that Garth Messina has taken up some time to join me and engage with us and share some of his thoughts with us this afternoon. So Garth, welcome and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Great to be part of this. Good to interact with you.
So let's talk around what the changes are that you would like to see in the retail industry, in particular for Woolworths. But if you can also just touch on a broader industry perspective, I would appreciate that.
Sure, no problem, Adam. And Adam, I'm going to say this is my perspective. Some of it might be things that are happening in our organization, but for me, it's my view and my take on it, especially for the broader industry. I think at this stage, digital transformation as a buzzword has been also something that's been around and spoken about quite a bit. I often struggle with all of these buzzwords that come around. So, cloud was one of them, and it came and it sort of, everybody was cloud, let's talk about cloud, and then digital transformation came around. But I think, to bring it down and sort of just unpack it a little bit, that is really the essence of what you need to be considering when you're in the retail industry, right? And I think just broader than the retail industry, if I look at it now, it's been the mechanism of how people have sort of managed to survive and keep their companies going. The fact that you can, open up your cell phone, order some goodies online and it gets delivered to you is now not sort of a luxury anymore. It's a necessity. It needs to happen. So I think digital transformation is definitely on the forefront, and it needs to be front and center of any organization, and more so specifically in the retail industry. Adam, I had this sort of view probably maybe 2 years ago, and it's something that I thought it's really a game changer, and it's something that's more forefront now, is where you need to understand your customer. So I, as Woolies, need to understand you, Adam. I need to know why do you come to my store? What is it that you shop at my store? What are the key things that you come to Woolies for? Once I understand that, I can personalize the shopping experience for Adam and his family, right? I can tell you, Adam, did you know we're running a promotion on chicken? We see you're often buying the chicken. Please come in. It's on promotion. And while you're there, did you know that we've got some specials on these things that accompany those type of things? So that's the future, Adam. That's where we need to get to. We need to, it's not anymore. People have evolved. The customers have evolved. They want something different, and you need to be able to personalize shopping for the customer. You need to understand. It's simple if you think about it from a concept perspective. There's obviously a lot that goes into it. I need to be able to mine all that data. I need to be able to get to understand a customer at the individual level. But I think once you do that, it's really a game changer. You're basically going to take the market, and people want that. People want that. They want that personalized shopping. They want to know that you know me, or I know you, and I'm sort of customizing your shopping experience to what you like. And that's where we need to get to.
What I really like about what you're saying in the application of the approach is it's going to bring consistency around customer experience, because that's really what it's about, right? The consistency of the experience, because you don't want the fluctuation of the customer experience, and that's what's going to bring the good experience and build the loyalty to your brand as well. So
Yeah.
well done and spot on, and thank you for detailing that for us. And you've touched on it a bit around digitization, but maybe just a bit more around the aspects that you believe that will that you and your business and in particular Woolworths will adopt in the near future, and what that journey looks like for you around digitization of your business.
So Adam, there's a lot of things. I'm maybe just going to touch on a few. I think maybe just to go back again to the personalized shopping. For me, we talk a lot about Internet of Things. I think for us, it's your real-time replenishment type of thing. So where you have that ability to get the stock levels in the store at real time, and not at night when you're doing a stock count type of thing,
Right.
is key. You have to get there. It's gonna better your availability in your stores, and there's mechanisms to get there. There's tech to do that. So those are the type of things that you need to be considering investing in to be on the forefront of those. Look, I think for me, your online presence is key, right? But I think it's not anymore just how does your website look and is it easy to navigate? What is that wow factor that you're putting into your website? I've been to one or two sort of online sessions over the time, and it's not anymore where the website or the interaction can be bland. More 3D animation, all of those sort of things, to entice your customer needs to be incorporated in your thinking. The richness of your website and those sort of things. What's going to attract people to come there? So it's a different way of thinking. It's a lot to think about and to invest in. But your online presence is obviously going to have to be key. I mean, a lot of the trend now you will find, and we specifically see this. It started quite a bit in Australia, where we needed to consider shrinking our brick and mortar, so the physical stores, shrinking those and doing more an online sort of online presence. And that's been happening in Australia, and I think soon here in South Africa it's going to follow suit. Where you're going to have to consider shrinking your store footprint if you can, doing more online. If you can't shrink your footprint, how do you use some of those spaces for other things? So do you consider growing your coffee shop area as an example for more interactions, or get feet into the store, which ultimately means you're getting people to interact in your store and potentially buy. I've seen some interesting aspects where they're creating more of a sort of a play area for kids in the store as well. Getting people to come into the store, because today, because the online is growing, the bricks and mortar is sort of going down. But do you take spaces of your stores to do something different with, and make it enticing for the people to come into the store? So those are the type of things that you have to think about digitizing. There's one concept that I think has been around for some time, but I think it's really something that I haven't necessarily seen a lot in action, specifically in South Africa, is where you as Adam sitting in the coffee shop and you're enjoying your coffee or your lunch, and you've ordered all your goodies via your mobile, or if you're working via your laptop. And once you're done and your lunch is done, you're basically just popping by all of these stores if you are in a mall, and you're collecting all of your goodies because it's been pre-packed for you and it's ready to go. So that's the mindset that you need to get to. And obviously there's a massive digital platform that sort of comes behind that supports that, and hence me saying, how do you get to your real-time replenishment and those sort of things? Yeah.
Got it. and really just touch there on it as well. It's really what it means for the future of retail and what the future of retail will really look like. I mean, our reality has been that there's been such a lot of disruption, and in your real world, it is consumer behavior that is disrupting your business, your industry, COVID-19, the pandemic. And then there are other external influences, macro and local that I'm sure you need to consider. So all of that taken into consideration, and based on what you've just said, what does the future of retail look like for you, in your opinion?
Adam, I think for the future of retail is definitely going to be very much more online. That's a given. And hence me going back to saying your online platform needs to be something that stands out. I think you're not going to get rid of your bricks and mortar. I think there's still going to be that the appetite of people, because you have people that like to get out, that like to go to malls. So you're still going to have that. But I think your store look and feel is going to be very different. Where today you're trying to pack it full of the product that you sell, you may be going to have a subset of that in there, or just it's where you can see some of these things, but potentially you're purchasing your goodies online, and your store has got other sort of elements in it that's enticing the people to come in there, like I mentioned.
Right. And I'm looking forward to some of those things coming alive and looking at those changes, and obviously following your predictions there as well. Garth, it's been great chatting to you. Thank you for your time. Absolute pleasure once again seeing you.
Thanks for the time.
All right. Thank you, Kuben, for joining us and agreeing to do this interview with us. So for now, let's just start off with your introduction, who you are, and the company that you work for.
Sure. So, as you know, I'm Kuben Nagana. I represent City Logistics and been here for the last 7, going on 8 years now. Supposed to be responsible for information technology for the group, and that's kind of like what I get paid for, aside from everything else. So in a nutshell, City Logistics is a logistics company that plays in various spaces in transportation, and been around now for 32 years. And I think as a business, as a family-run owned business, which is a medium corp, has grown from strength to strength over the last 32 years. And one of the beliefs and values I think that our business stands on quite firmly is the fact that they believe in their people, empowering their people, and trust. And that's kind of what this business has been built on from year on year, through the customers that we've journeyed with over the period of time. What I can say is, in my short journey at the company for the last 7 and a bit years, is that we've got a strong customer retention. And I think that says a lot, in the logistics space for a lot of companies out there. I think City stands out from the rest of them. Thank you.
That's true. Thanks, Kuben. All right. So, in these difficult times, and we've had to re-engineer the way we work because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's affected businesses worldwide. So my next question is, how are you insulating yourselves and your retailers from future disruptions of this nature?
Strategically positioned ourselves in the retail space or in the logistics space for retail customers, which we specialize in, that we have branches throughout the country to be able to facilitate and transact wherever we are, and redeploy and maneuver stock and inventory when and if needed. And I think that's what City's done well, not just now, but over the period of time. The one thing that we've future-proofed, Hector, is our how we transact on our data, how we host our data, and what we are, being one of Vodacom's strategic customers, using their cloud hosting platform. And that's also created a bit of resilience within our infrastructure to allow us to have continuity and seamless transacting between us and our vendors and our customers. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Kuvin. I think, yeah, that was good detail. And I think you've touched on the next question that I want to ask, but not like so much in detail in terms of the types of solutions that you have. What I want to ask more is going into what solutions are you considering to implement now that you would have previously considered being a futuristic type of solution?
Sure. So two things come to mind, right? And so for me, the one is key is automation, and then the second would be, well, people use the term quite loosely now, called AI, right, or RPA. And for me, that was in being an IT, believe it or not, it always sounds sounds like it's too futuristic and we're not ready for that, or how does it really fit into our business? I think sometimes we procrastinate a bit too much as people and humans, and only when put into a corner, and then finally realize, well, if we did this way, we could have been able to produce X as an example. And I think maybe a lot of businesses had the same challenge just before lockdown, or as lockdown was dawned upon us. So automation in city is a project that we're driving quite hard. Believe it or not, Hector, and this is true, we started this automation journey this year in January. So aside from COVID, right? So this has been our plan, and it's been a long journey to get to this stage. But as a business, we realize that we have to embark on this journey now, rather and be future-proofed, if you call it that. Create efficiencies in our business, and I touched on efficiency earlier, where we're creating efficiency to create, call it capacity. So the same thing applies from an automation point, from a system point. Often we find that there's reports manually generated by individuals and so on. I'm using an arbitrary example, but these kind of functions are functions that we can streamline quite quickly via an automated process using a tool. I'm not going to mention the tool that we actually use, but which creates workflows in your business. Also, we're waiting for things to transact, or we're waiting for an individual to produce something. And often it's like sift through mails, who we're waiting for. So what we've done is now started to automate these processes. At any given time, any person within that transaction wants to know where they are. There's visibility. So what we've done is we created automation from a process point. We've created efficiency, and still trying to push the efficiency and adoption. Transparency, which has been lacking for a while, or we're always reliant on someone to find out where are we sitting with this, or what's the status of that, and so on. On top of all of that, what we've added is compliance, and compliance is quite a big thing, quite a big factor. In the past, what we tend to do is tend to deploy stuff quickly and not factor in the compliance portion of it. And with all Poppy being dawned upon us as well right now, it's important as a business we get our fundamentals and our processes correct and on the right foundation. What we have also done, Ekta, and this is the last point I'm going to touch on, is from an automation point, we not only automating our systems, we actually busy right now with an automation process with automatic box sorting in our facility. What that means is now we're taking a bit of, I won't go into detail, PLC and some smart telemetry work to auto push rather than relying on humans. Because what we found also over COVID is often the guys are staying away from work, either because they're infected, or there's been some issue, or there's been some form of secondary, infection or so on, or whatever or contact. And then those guys don't come to work. We would have to increase our labor that given day just to cover for that individual. The automation that we're looking at is not really to cut out labor at all, and that's not what the process is. It's about creating efficiency in our warehouse so we can move more cartons per day, auto sorting, creating capacity. What does that mean? Our retailers get their stock in quicker into their stores. We get to turn around our vehicles a lot quicker, which means that we could run more loads or more tons on those trucks. We would have more efficient capacity in the warehouse. The quicker it comes in and the quicker it goes out, that means we just created capacity. So in the event of a DR and one of the retailers or our customers say, you know what, our warehouse is shut down, can we piggyback or use a bit of your facility? And the answer will be yes, because why? We've created efficiency in our business. So automation, RPA, I can see definitely RPA adding value in our business, and it'll add value in a strategic, I don't believe in a strategic, the word I'm looking for, department, if I call it that. And we have to outweigh the cost, right? So one of the things is, it's one thing to say we're going to use RPA and robotics and so on. It's about where it gives us best return on investment. So that is something that we're looking at quite closely. We haven't embarked on it yet, but it is a project that we're going to tie in quite closely to our system automation. And then the box sorting, as an example, that we're driving right now, it's quite a heavy investment that the business is laying down for this kind of project, especially at these times. But we do believe that if we add this in now, it's going to create the efficiencies that we need in our business to become sustainable later down the line. Thank you, Hector. I hope that answers your question and creates a little bit more light on the subject at hand.
It does. Thanks so much, Kuvin. And yeah, thank you so much again for the time. And we're really looking forward to more interactions where we can discuss the type of solutions that Vodacom can offer you to take your business forward as well.
100%. And thank you so much. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Cool.
Hector. Take care. Yes,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Thank you for our customers who have come to the party and enlightened us on their journey post-COVID. I think nothing is as impactful and as resounding as the customer's view as to what the challenges have been and how they're looking to address them. Just as a friendly reminder, the question portal is open for any questions that you might have around some of the insights that we've provided and the solutions that we are going to be presenting to you. Next on our agenda, I'd like to introduce Riaz Parodia from IoT.next. IoT.next is part of the Vodacom family, basically helping customers to get the insights that they require in order to seamlessly provide the value that customers can get out of understanding their customer's journey and helping them in order to make the right choices and helping the retailers understand whether to embark on a digital strategy or basically stay on-prem. So Riaz is a technical sales specialist at IoT.next with a key focus on producing the commercial proposition and the financial case in strategic deals to drive IoT sales globally. Riaz is focused on working with customers to help them drive their digital transformation strategies, supporting the implementation of new business and boosting their current ones through innovative IoT solutions. A qualified civil engineer, very brainy guy, Riaz has worked across the mining and environmental service industry, primarily in hydraulics, structural and transportation engineering. In addition to his work at IoT Next, Riaz is currently pursuing a master's degree in engineering management, with his research focusing on the utilization of new and innovative technology across an organization's value chain to drive the overall competitive edge. I'd like to welcome Riaz to the stage.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Pearl, and welcome to everybody that has joined us. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to give you a quick 10,000 feet overview of what IoT.next is, who IoT.next is, and what we do in this space, right? So IoT.next is basically the preferred platform provider to Vodacom for IoT. Now, what IoT is? IoT is basically Internet of Things, and the IoT platform basically allows you to connect a whole range of different devices, different communication protocols, and all of that together in one seamless platform and create workflows between each of those devices, right? And collecting the data from all of these devices, we can actually apply artificial intelligence and machine learning to this so that we can automate decision making within businesses, right? Moving on from this through to the next slide, please. I'm going to walk you through some of the solutions that IoT.next has deployed for some of our customers. Now, IoT.next has deployed solutions in the mining sector, the smart building sector, as well as the retail sector. And what we have found is a lot of customers have come to us throughout this pandemic to ask us for solutions to help them to create a safe working space for their customers as well as their employees, right? And And the core solution that normally comes to mind within this pandemic is video analytics. And the thread of this entire presentation that I'm going to go through is going to be around video analytics and IoT, and how customers are using the data and the implementations that they have deployed now during this pandemic to sort of automate their reporting and their processes going forward. And beyond COVID, we're going to look at how that data and we're going to look at how some of the live systems that we've deployed aid retailers in planning their stores, in health and safety for their employees and their workers, and in automating workflow. Move on to the next slide, please. So some of the offerings that IoT.next can provide to retailers ranges from, right at the top, occupancy monitoring. So there we can count the number of people, the footfall traffic within specific retail outlets and within specific stores or factories, etc. We also look at crowd analytics, PPE detection. Now that is something that has come to the fore recently, and that has been backed by government regulations, right? So retailers came to us and asked us for something to scan to scan the temperatures of customers entering the store, but at the same time to provide a solution that is future-proof, and that's where crowd analytics comes in, and I'm going to take you through that in a bit more detail later, right? So queue monitoring is also something that is of significant importance, and the main reason for that is, first of all, monitoring the queues of people that are entering your store, but also there's also a significant drive towards shortening the queuing time for individuals and customers within your store. And this is primarily driven by the safety initiatives from our government, right? And then moving on from the customer journey, we also focus on the retailer journey, and we look at how building management solutions are deployed there, right? So if I look at the customer journey, if we look at the customer journey here, when a customer enters a specific retail setting, so this can be a shopping mall, this can be a shopping center, it can be a specific retail store. The first thing that retailers typically have asked us for is to basically make sure that the customers entering are safe, and that the workspace in which the customers are entering is also safe, right? And how do we do that? So the first way that we did that was by looking at the real-time camera feeds from specific locations within the store, right? So looking at the camera feed, what we can first of all do is we can analyze the video feed to see whether a user is wearing a mask. We can see what their temperature is, etc., right? But that is a solution that we deployed right now, and that is something that's going to solve a problem right now. But how do we ensure that the solution is future-proof? And that's where crowd analytics comes in, right? So by crowd analytics, what I mean is when users enter these stores, their facial recognition automatically takes place. But with the machine learning models that we have developed on the back end, we basically have analyzed hundreds or thousands of different specific emotions and demographics of people, so that we can actually tell almost instantaneously what a person's emotions are, whether the person is, we can tell what age the person is, whether they're 25 or 35 years old, and we can actually tell what their gender is, right? And using that data in real time, what we can do is target advertising towards specific users. So what we can do with that is, let's say, for example, if a user looks and engages with a particular display, they in real time will get an advert that's tailored to their specific requirements and their emotions at that point in time. And longer term from this, what a retailer can do with this information is they can see how effective some of their advertising campaigns are, how effective some of their advertising elements are, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing that we focused on, and that has also been required by government regulations, was to ensure occupancy within the stores in the past, right? So that they also solved the problem throughout the COVID pandemic to ensure that we that we enforce social distancing regulations within these stores by ensuring a specific number of people are there. But going ahead and into the future, how can this technology help retailers and customers in the future? So by analyzing data from occupancy monitoring sensors within the stores, and this is a quick example of one of them. By analyzing the data and the video feeds, what we can do is we can count the number of people that are entering and exiting a specific location within the store. So the video feed that you're looking at currently has been mounted in one of our retail partners. Every time a person travels past a particular line that's on the display over here, and this is a live deployment, we can actually count how many people are entering and exiting that store, and we can in real time send alerts to the retailers or to the store owners about how many people are actively in that store. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is more from an office perspective, is if we exceed specific social distancing regulations or thresholds or occupancy thresholds within the store, we can automatically lock those doors. So there we have done an integration with a door locking system already and the access control system. And the systems in which you can integrate with after this are quite endless, right? So you're getting a whole lot of data that's coming through, giving you live occupancy analytics data, right? But going ahead, what retailers can use this for is to plan their store layouts, to plan their stores throughout the different periods of the year, for example, their layout planning. They can decide which stores they need to target specific advertising initiatives towards and how much of stock they need to send to specific stores based on footfall traffic. So the dashboard that I'm showing you right now is just a snippet of some of our analytics, and this dashboard can be customized to your particular requirements. But in this case and in this particular instance, what we're looking at is occupancy monitoring throughout a particular period of time. So how busy was the store throughout that day? And this can provide value to both the store owner as well as the customer that's coming in. So from a store owner's perspective, they understand what their busy periods are. They can plan their tellers. They can choose how many tellers they need, how many packers they need, etc. throughout the day, right? And by the way, that can also be automated using some of our IoT deployments into queue management and teller occupancy management systems, right? The next thing, and this can also help customers. That's also what I want to touch on, right? So if customers have access to this data from a retailer's perspective, sorry, can you please go back to the previous slide? So if customers have access to this data from a retailer's perspective, what they can do is they can also plan the time during which they want to make their shopping trips, right? So they can decide, you know what, based on past trends, we run analytics on the data that's coming through, and we predict what future trends are going to look like, and customers can decide that they want to go to the store at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. because it's going to be quiet at that particular time, right? So we also have queue monitoring, like I alluded to earlier. We also have vehicle count monitoring, which is in parkings or in parkings. All of this is from a single solution focused on video analytics, and this can really help retailers going forward, right? We also have data coming in from data around the peak number of users in a store and the average number of users in particular stores. So we can actually see how effective some stores are going forward, right? And this data can actually be analyzed quite further, right? And if we go to the next slide quickly, what we can also start to do now is, and when we start to analyze all of this data into much more detail, we can start to see what the average occupancy looked like throughout that store. And this is, like I said, this is all from a single camera feed that's sending occupancy data in, right? So we can see what the peak number was throughout different periods of the year, for example. We can actually see how, going forward now and with the lead up to Black Friday, we can see how occupancy changes in the stores in that lead up to Black Friday and thereafter towards the Christmas period, if that is something that is going to be of concern. And on the right-hand side, you're actually seeing is a graph that shows occupancy throughout various days. So you can see that Mondays are probably more busier than Fridays, for instance. And that is something that's really insightful as well in terms of planning, from a planning perspective. And at the core of all of this, like I mentioned earlier, is the IoT.next platform, right? And what this does is, this is a single store's overview that we're seeing over here, right? But what this allows a specific store owner or retail owner is to bring all of their stores into a single remotely monitored view from a desktop at any point in time. So they can see the entire portfolio of stores from a single place, and they can see how all of their stores are performing relative to each other. They can run very complex AI algorithms on the data sets that are coming through, and you know what, they can actually gain really meaningful insights from this. If we move on to the next slide quickly, because we're also tracking the occupancy trends within the store, we're also able to generate heat maps from user movement. Now this here is an office setting, but the same application can be used in retail outlets for landlords, for store owners, and within stores. This can also aid in store planning and workspace planning, right? So you can see what you're seeing on the right hand side is a graph that has been generated from various movement parts of different people within their store. And once again, this is also from an imaging solution, right? This can also aid users or retailers with track and trace if that is something that was of concern at a particular period in time. And like I said, a lot of these solutions have come up with the pandemic. They have been accelerated by the pandemic, but they can actually be deployed and used for value going forward, right? If we move on to the next slide quickly, right? And like I mentioned earlier, the retailer journey can basically be divided, the retail journey can basically be divided into two specific segments. One is the consumer journey and obsessing over customer satisfaction and customer safety. But the next part actually focuses on the retailer and how do retailers somehow gain, or how does retailers somehow find the funds that are necessary to invest in all of these technology initiatives, right? And one way to do that is to cut costs from running your buildings or your retail stores more efficiently and responding to changes brought about by specific regulations, right? So if I look at the view that I'm showing you right now, retailers can actually look at all of the equipment within their stores. So for example, their fridges, because that could be a critical point, right? So they can monitor how their fridges are being utilized, how often their fridges are being opened and closed, how efficient are they, and what the energy consumption from those fridges are, right? And they can create complex data models around this for them to plan going forward. So they can decide, you know what, 10 of my stores have this manufacturers and this model's fridge. I need to choose a specific type for the rest of my stores as I I expand my portfolio going forward, right? From an environmental and a safety perspective, they can monitor air quality and air conditioning, right? So they can ensure that, and this has also been something that has brought about by this pandemic, was monitoring the humidity and the temperature and the air quality within specific facilities. So we can trigger the HVAC or the BM or the building management system or the air conditioning system to switch on at specific times to maintain specific air quality levels, and this will ensure that, you know what, in the pandemic it would ensure that the virus was not transmitted we reduce the transmission of the virus, but going forward we actually create a comfortable environment for customers and for employees within the space, right? From an energy monitoring perspective, every item that's over here is potentially generating a lot of data, right? And we need to monitor all of the data to actually, because at the end of the day, energy is probably one of the biggest drivers or cost drivers within a business, and if we want to reduce those costs, we need to really understand where those costs are being pushed to. So if you have solar initiatives within your building, if you have energy meters within your lights, for example, you can actually trace where those specific cost elements or cost components are from, and when you plan your future stores or even your current stores, you can actually see what causes your highest cost, right? And at the core of all of this, like I mentioned earlier a few times, is the Iot platform. So what this enables users or retailers to do now during the pandemic is to quickly react to specific changes in regulation. So for instance, when all stores and retailers needed to shut down, it was a quick change on the back end where you just needed to push a button and say, all right, we're switching to lockdown mode level 3 or whatever the case may be, and we switch off certain elements within the store, switch off certain zones, when we make sure our store is running efficiently, and that allows you retailers to cut their costs really effectively. Inventory management is also something that is really important to retailers, and inventory management within the stores, so like RFID, tracking our stock levels throughout the stores, and security, and also for security, so in other words, tracking when items leave the store and how much of those items leave the stores. But we also have solutions where we've deployed smart shelves, for example, so you can actually decide what's the most effective time to restock my shelves. When do I need to restock my shelves? How do I ensure that all of my shelves are always stocked in particular instances, right? And we can actually look at how stock moves from specific shelves located at specific locations within the store, right? And that there, in summary, is basically a high-level overview of what IoT.next has done in the retail space and for the retail sector, right? And I think going forward, what we're going to do is we're going to break down that entire retail value chain, and we're going to look at how IoT initiatives can be deployed at every single point on that value chain to allow retailers to really gain value from this and to benefit from this going forward, right? And I think so that's it from my side. Thank you. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A section, and we'll try and get to as many of them as possible. Thank you very much. Over to you, Paul. Paul, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Riyaz, for that enlightening presentation. I think us adhering to the rules and regulations after post-COVID will be of most interest to a lot of our customers. I'd like to introduce Jaime from other sister company, Xlink. Jaime Bannerwick is the Managing Director of Xlink Communications, a subsidiary of Vodacom. He's been with the business since inception and holds over 20 years of experience within IT and the retail environment, including 6 years experience developing IoT-related products and services. With his strong commercial and management skill, he specializes in providing management solutions within IoT and the ICT sector. With Jaime is Talha Kapri, very exotic name. Talha is a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience in technology solutions and product management, as well as extensive enterprise architecture experience in helping multinationals conceptualize and execute business strategies through the use of innovative information technology. Talha holds a global experience and has worked and led diverse range of cultures in order to drive revenues, expand into profitable markets, as well as promote company products and services. He's very passionate about technology and the advancements it brings in our day-to-day life. I'm going to hand over to Jaime and Talha to go through the offerings from our Xlink sister company. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Paul, and good afternoon to our customers for joining us. We thank you for your time. Excellent Communications has been operating within the retail sector for the past 16 years, predominantly connecting payment terminals, and the insight that we've gained over the 16 years have allowed us to understand what it means to assist retailers on their transformational journey. There's tremendous potential to improve retail in digital technologies, and I think that's been highlighted this afternoon by both George and Riaz, with a key focus on the consumer of the future. What do new payment technologies look like for retailers? And then most importantly, media engagement. What are the new media mediums that will be engaging with consumers? A recent interview and survey that Xlink performed with TransUnion with certain retailers, and we posed a question as you look forward, what do you need help with to thrive and grow your business in today's environment and post the pandemic? 59% of respondents highlighted the need to improve cash flow and attract new customers. 49% of respondents said access to funding was important, with 29 referring to diversifying their customer base, and 24% of respondents highlighting a new marketing approach. I think what's very important from an Xlink perspective is that we've seen platforms have a tremendous impact on other sectors, which has been highlighted by Riaz from IoT.next. And we know at Xlink that platform-led products and services are key to Xlink's strategy for retail deployment and customer interaction. We are seeing a requirement to connect the manufacturer to the consumer. We are seeing how critical payment is becoming in orchestrating the customer's needs. Highlighted in a recent announcement in Tech Central is Xlink's capability in building this through the Food Guru platform. This allows ourselves to solve problems for our customers as well as your customers. I would now like to hand over to Talca to take you through in-depth and then give you an overview of the Xlink products. Talca, over to you.
Thank you, Jaime. Thanks for having me. What I want to do is speak through the journey of Xlink with regards to how we have enabled retail for the last 15 years. And the story really goes along connectivity, which is payment acceptance connectivity. So the connectivity that enables the machine that gets swiped at any of the merchants. And that's a mission critical service for our retailers. And providing that level of service of PCI compliance is very, very crucial to us. But we've had to reinvent ourselves into how do we continually build services that supports our key customers. What we have done along this wheel, and you can see it ranges from connectivity to managed services and platforms. Some of the services touches on similar propositions Riaz mentioned. So I'll touch on the other elements from an Xlink perspective. So traditional connectivity that enables payment. We have also expanded into data connectivity. So the recent uptrend of work from home, that's now part of our stable. We also allow multi-agnostic or multi-bearer services. So if you need services from multiple GSM providers, we offer that as one suite of service, as opposed to having multiple relationships with MNOs. We hold that for you as a end-to-end service from a connectivity perspective. Going on to managed services, at the end of every level of connectivity, there's a device that needs to be managed. So that device could be a router, switch, a firewall, an access point, and we have the relevant expertise and skills around those sort of devices that provides the services of the connectivity, so generally on the local area network. One exciting proposition we just launched is a retail self-service kiosk. And what this in essence does is it allows you to have contactless payment or retail experience, whereby you use your phone via an application and you scan the barcodes of the products in the store. It goes into a very specific if you want to call it a smart basket. The basket get analyzed at a waiting station at the kiosk. Video analytics does the verification of the barcoded goods with the actual product to correlate that the data is correct, not only by weight but also by the video analytics. And instant mobile payment is done at that point without having to engage with anyone, especially in the times we have today. Let's think of Amazon Go, but a lighter version of it for our context. So that's the self-service kiosk, which we have a demo at our offices, and happy to take any of our customers through that. The retail video analytics and digital inventory is very much similar to the IoT.next offerings. It does very much the same thing. So retail video analytics is about security surveillance, heat mapping, marketing promotions by store foot traffic, inventory management, queue management, etc. Digital inventory management relates to our RFID solution that gives real-time visibility of stock, reduces stock take hours, and shrinkage that comes with the improved business process. What I want to touch on a bit longer and further is our platform. So where we're moving to from a retail perspective, and what are these platforms? With the result of COVID pandemic this year, we've had to pivot and reinvent our business to an extent. And one of the things is we have to move to is a platform from a retail perspective. But a platform is not only about consuming a service, but it's also how do we enable our customers to do business easier. So we have launched the COVID Passport. The COVID Passport essentially, if anyone has been at restaurants of late, it's quite an experience where you have to fill in the form, have your temperature taken, wait to be seated, etc. So what we wanted to do is make that service more efficient. So what the COVID Passport does, it's a free application, anyone can use it. It allows for the capture, reporting, track and trace based on the COVID health and safety regulations. So generally the 4 questions that gets asked. It's already on your application. All you do is you show the QR code to the restaurant, and your details is uploaded onto their side of the application, and the restaurant then takes your temperature, and he or she records the data into the platform, and it automatically gets done and updated. And then you'll actually end up seeing a history of where you've been, what your temperature has been, etc. Anyone else, restaurants on that platform, will be able to automatically see any other guests that have registered or had made bookings, and they'll be the entry will be a bit easier. And I think our restaurants have been taking quite a knock, so we need to look at ways of how we can support them. The first service offering we actually built around the Food Guru platform was online ordering. So online ordering is pretty much your Uber Eats, your Mr. D equivalent. It allows for click and collect, click and deliver. The value proposition we offer is more of a cost-effective sort of solution. And if you've seen in the media of late, the cost around Uber Eats and Mr. D is quite extensive. So what we've done is created a offering that compares in price to that as well. What makes Food Guru different? Okay, so it's not just another Uber Eats, it's not just another Mr. D. We've added a few services that we think will turn the needle with regards to the ecosystem or the platform. So the first one is customer engagement, or the third through the circle, and this allows restaurants to have a direct conversation in the application. And that also allows you to have a conversation while in order. So if there's any changes, you want to make additions, etc., you can do that. And it also allows for post-order engagement. So marketing afterwards, or some sort of level of interaction afterwards that the restaurant might want to do. And what's key for us is we don't want to be a platform that keeps the two sides apart. We want to actually bring them together to create a holistic sort of experience continuously. Not just for one purchase, but for multiple purchases. So that's customer engagement, which is an offering that comes part of Food Guru. The next one is staff conversations. So this allows you to have within one platform conversations with, we'll call it a central employee hub, where you can engage with the employee for any sort of operational activities, any new news on health and safety, regulations, rosters, etc., and your normal day-to-day sort of comms with the staff. Moving on to hyperlocal marketing, not only does the staff need to, or the restaurants need to look at other ways of increasing revenue and becoming more operationally efficient, but how do we support them in getting access to newer markets? So hyperlocal marketing is a service that allows restaurants to create geolocation campaigns. So take, for example, there's a new coffee shop that opens down the road and the restaurant wants to, or the coffee shop needs to get exposure. What we do is we allow them to have target certain demographics based on their business to a radius of that specific coffee shop. So you can say, let's send an SMS to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, depending on the budget of the restaurant, to X amount of users, and tell them, I just opened my coffee shop, come before 8, and instead of 25 Rand, you get a coffee for 15, and we might throw in a muffin for another 5 Rand. So enabling the restaurant to get some more exposure on advertising mediums that wasn't possible, and this is all part of the platform. The last pillar of the platform is the marketplace, and the marketplace essentially allows the restaurant to look for any other products that they require from a host of other suppliers that they might not have access to. I know Jenny will be speaking us through Trading Bridge, which is a link into Food Guru, and this will enable any restaurant to purchase, whether it be milk, coffee, whatever service, whatever products is required for the restaurant, and the benefits is aggregate buying power of the platform. So that's currently the platform as we see it. The other future developments on the platform, because we don't just see the platform as a once-off use, how do you continually use the platform, is rewards and loyalty across the platform that will be coming, and analytics for the restaurant. So we want to go back to the restaurants and give them key data about who's buying their products, at what time they're buying their products, what's the demographic of those products, and that in turn will allow the restaurant to plan and manage what they have on the menus that are more profitable and salesmen. So that's the story of Xlink, where we're at, where we've come from, and where we're moving towards from a platform perspective. Any questions, please do feel free, or if you guys do want to see our retail self-service kiosk demo, please reach out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Talha. I think just to take away from the slides, it's very important for customers to be able to take payments, whether from their customers or from their suppliers. With that being said, I would like to introduce Jenny from our Trade Bridge team, where we help our customers and our suppliers to integrate and share orders and also invoices and accelerate cash payments of goods rendered and services rendered. With that, I'd like to basically just give you an idea of who Jenny is. Jenny Paysa is Executive Head for our Trade Bridge segment, which sits within the financial services team within Vodacom. She has a strong background in technology and platforms and has several years' experience in solutioning with customers to enable the digital transformation across B2B, Internet of Things, and enterprise mobility. Welcome, Jenny, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Pearl. Good afternoon, all. On the back of the conversations that you've heard today, as well as, you understanding the COVID pandemic, it's become very evident that organizations need to place strong focus on supply chain visibility and resilience. Now, underpinning any successful digital supply chain is data, but more importantly, is access to timeous and accurate data. Today, I'll be sharing with you how Vodacom's Trading Bridge can enable your digital supply chain. So the Trading Bridge platform has been in existence for in excess of 20 years. Today we switch 84 million transactions to the value of around 200 billion rands per annum. We have all the major retailers on the platform, as you can see, trading with the major brands on a daily basis. And we're switching orders, invoices, claims, credit note, product catalogs on a daily basis. Our proposition to our customers is that you connect to us once in your format, and we would open up your business network of partners. So it's an any-to-any platform, able to consume any format and transform the data in the format that your partners want. So what we also do is we extend this to a large base of SMEs. So an example I use often is a fudge lady that needs to produce product and produce it to a retailer, but all she has is an internet connection. But she still needs to commit orders, she still needs to reject orders, and turn that around to an invoice. So we provide that interface for the fudge lady to log on and interact into this digital ecosystem without having complex systems in the back end, and all seamlessly translated into Trading Bridge into the back end of the retailer. So now, moving on to how we actually create a connected business network for our customers. So typically a large organization has a sell journey, which is to a retail base. And now this could be via a large formal retailer, which uses complex ERP systems, typically a SAP system at the back end. But it could vary to a wholesaler, maybe using an unpacks system, to a spaza store running his store on the back of a matchbox. Now this could vary in terms of how the order is received by this large organization from these various sets of retailers. Where we come in, sitting in the middle as Trading Bridge, is we enable the organization to receive it as an omni-channel interface, whether it's a structured EDI format, whether it's a PDF that needs to have a robotics engine to actually get the PDF off a portal, scrape it and transform it into a structured format, or whether it's a mobile web ordering solution that we provide your retailer to actually capture the order and take this into your ecosystem. We provide that omni-channel interface so that you don't need to worry about the complexity. The downstream is also how do you manage the suppliers in terms of raw materials, packaging, etc. How do you get that into the ecosystem so that you have an end-to-end visibility of your supply chain? So aside from creating this connected business network for the organization, what we're doing is we're layering propositions on top of that in terms of rich data insights so that you as an organization can make informed decisions on your product performance, on your product location, and where you're taking your product. So now looking at how we actually including the small customer into our ecosystem. So if we could move to the next slide. So when we look at our small informal retailer as well as our small supplier, it's quite important that we bring them into the digital ecosystem and they're not left behind. Now, we're doing a couple of things in order to incorporate them. Aside from bringing innovative financial services such as nano lending, invoice financing and payments, what we're doing for the small informal retailer is we're providing a mobile ordering solution. Now, it can run on a smartphone, it can run actually on a desktop, and also what we're doing is we're introducing an Android point of sale terminal. So this is a terminal that can accept payments, but also it can run any Android app. So we'll be placing our ordering app on there. In addition, we'll be adding on other services to our retailer like vending of vases, airtime, data, ticketing, giving the merchant and the ability to actually get access to lending, loyalty programs, etc. So really enabling that merchant to grow his business. And then on the supplier side, the fudge lady example that I gave you, she would have access to a portal. She would be able to get access to all her orders from various retailers. So if she's trading with multiple retailers, she would be able to see her retailer orders, actually commit to it, turn that around into an invoice, and that seamlessly goes into the retailer's back end, also helping the retailer from the complexity of handling manual invoices, PDFs. That takes away the complexity from the retailer. So helping the small supplier, but enabling the retailer at the same time. In addition to that, we are enabling the small supplier to get access to invoice financing. And as Jaime quite clearly articulated earlier, one of the things that came out in that survey is access to funding, access to financing, and we are going to step in and try and help the SME in terms of cash flow based on her ordering behavior. If we move on to the next slide, I'm now going to take you through our innovative order solution. So you're going to see a little bit of a journey of the experience that a merchant would go through in terms of the order app. It's a catalog-based system. So on the back end of this, we have quite a rich, complex catalog that caters for product SKU data with images. It has also complex pricing, so customer-specific pricing, promotion specials. The experience the merchant has is browse catalogs, place the items in your basket. You're able to check out. And then once you place that order is sent through to the back end of Trading Bridge and into the back end of the owner of that catalog. You would see that we've integrated the M-Pesa journey in this particular journey that you're seeing on screen, but we also have an SA payment journey which allows you to actually pay on order or pay on invoice on the delivery of your goods. The app is actually Africa ready. So we've partnered with M-Pesa, and there's some projects kicking off in Kenya in the next couple of weeks. The app also has full offline capability, which allows you to actually browse, create orders, populate your basket, and then when you're ready to actually submit, go online. It enables you to also receive order responses, invoices on this app, but also messaging from the brand. For example, check out this new promotion, check out this new special, check out this new product launched, etc., directly to the front end. And now moving on to one of our key projects that we are doing this year is our financial inclusion project. So on the back of the ordering solution that you've seen and the Trading Bridge platform we have in place, it's about bringing this entire ecosystem together for our brands and our customers, as well as enabling our merchant and our consumer. So it's an ecosystem connecting the shopper to the merchant, to the brand, as well as the wholesaler or distributor that often is in the middle of that chain. So for our brand, we're offering them visibility because often their visibility of their product stops at a distributor. This ecosystem will enable them to get sight of the buying behavior from the merchant perspective as well as the shopper. And from the merchant and the shopper, we are providing them the capability to actually be part of the digital ecosystem. So the merchant will be able to digitally order, whether it's on the brand itself or whether it's via a wholesaler. But in addition, also be able to get access to various financial services. So it's quite an exciting ecosystem that's kicking off both from an African perspective as well as South Africa. And then on the back of that, something that I didn't mention up front is what we have is an aggressive rollout into Africa, connecting our retailers and our brands on a Trading Bridge level into Africa as well. So we just recently connected a couple of our retailers in Kenya into our brands, into our large brands. Due to it being a complete cloud platform, this is quite an easy provisioning exercise. And finally, my last slide is bringing all of this together is how we enable you as an organization to digitize your end-to-end supply chain. And whether it's providing you with rich data insights, whether it's providing you with a reach from a customer perspective or route to market and scale into Africa, Trading Bridge is the underpinning platform, bringing all of this together and layering data proposition, financial services, so that it can help each and every stakeholder in the ecosystem. So I'll leave it there for today. Thank you very much. And if there's any questions, please feel free to pop it into the Q&A section. I now hand over back to Pearl. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jenny. I think just to our customers, thank you very much for being with us. If I could just check if there's any questions. I'm not seeing any questions. I'm hoping that we have answered all the questions that you might have had, so there is no need for further engagement. But I'd like to invite you to speak to your account managers if there's any of the solutions that we have presented today that appeal to you or that you would basically like to double click on and explore for your organization. And just in summary, I think we did actually talk through the retail landscape as it stands, what the trends are within the market, what are the trends pre and post COVID. we went through the discussion with IoT.next that took us through the solutions that they provide in terms of health and safety, in terms of connecting the customers to the data that they require in order to plan for their stores and for their goods and for their wares while making the employees and customers safe. We spoke to Xlink that talked about the capabilities they have with regards to allowing payment options, whether online or on-prem, and also providing a visibility around what we're doing on the online food side via Food Guru. And lastly, we talked about how do we get that cash in, whether from the suppliers or from our customers, and providing an end-to-end solution with regards to the retail environment. Going forward, we'd like to basically double click on how we basically can help you with your employee landscape, how to help them with their training, how to help them with productivity, and how to prepare them for the new normal as we basically try and address the challenges that have also been brought on by COVID by allowing them to work remotely. We always want to make sure that they're safe while being productive. Like I said, this is one of the first series, one within a series of webinars we'll be hosting. Stay tuned with your account managers. We will be providing more visibility around more webinars to come. And like I said, feel free to connect. Feel free to ask for help. Feel free to connect with us around how we basically enable you to leverage some of the solutions we've presented today. With that, I would like to say thank you to our presenters and partners. Thank you to Roger from Deloitte. Thank you to Jaime, Riaz, and Jenny, and Lerato as well as our lead for the retail and logistics team. And with that, thank you very much.